So clearly I hit that. Listen, we're still trying to figure this out, right?
Hey,
Right. All right. Now I think we're all right. Now we're live on Instagram. Okay.
all the bells and whistles are just extra stuff, dude. The folks just want the conversation, and boy, do we have something in store this morning.
This morning, early this morning too. It's early for everyone. But listen, our great blue special guest was not able to do this evening, so we accommodate, and that's what we do here. We accommodate. Listen, let's just jump right into it. Without further ado, let's just hold 1 second, please. You know me, I got to have a little bit of drama.
Yes.
And here he is.
Hey.
Oh, I guess I got to stop this too. Oh wait, there's a little bit of lowdown coming up there. Hold on. Let's add this back in here. I think there's a little bit of lowdown about this. Maybe not. Oh, you're just eating up time. All right, let me get rid of this. That's when you had the dance off with Brian.
Yeah. Brian was great to work with, man. Just big ribber, but he was cool. He was cool.
Brian was much better when he came up to WWE than was if you had to work with him, or even not even work with him, deal with him, because I never worked with him. Deal with him at all at USWA.
Yeah, there's a difference between working with somebody and dealing with somebody. And
Yes.
dude, it was Royal Rumble 99, and I'm leaving the locker room, and Brian comes up and goes, "Hey, they changed the order of the Rumble. Go tell the boys we got a meeting." So, all right. So I walk out, "Hey guys, they changed the order of the Rumble. We have a meeting." And I go to leave the locker room. He's standing out there laughing. There wasn't a meeting. They hadn't changed the number of the Rumble. So like all the boys like, "Oh, Blue Meanie's ribbon, huh?" I was like, "Brian just told me." I was like, "Come on." And then like Percy comes up and goes, "Blue boy." But then Draws is like, "Oh, it's gonna be a chop fest tonight on Meanie." So we get in the ring during the Rumble, and Edge and Draws have me in the corner. They're acting like they're trying to eliminate me, and the camera catches me reaching over and I'm tickling them. I'm tickling them and I'm pulling on their armpit hairs to leave me alone. It just, but the camera caught the tickle.
Those Rumbles were the best because you got to just mess around with each other, and even the Royal Rumbles, that's what we did. It was still nipple twisting and armpit hair grabbing, and it was just out. Especially if we all knew we weren't going over, so it's like, let's just go out there and try and have a good time, have fun, and laugh. So yeah, those were fun. I think that was the one. That was the Garden, right? 99 was the Garden, right?
No, that was 2000.
That was
2000
that was
Garden?
Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
We did the one. The one I'm talking about was in Anaheim.
Okay.
The night that Rock and Mankind had the I Quit match.
Oh, okay. Yes.
99 is the one where Vince went over.
Yeah. 99 was Vince. Vince won, and that was leading up to St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
So 2000 was the Garden then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So it was 2001 when Drew Carey took my spot in the Rumble.
Oh my God.
Took D'Lo in my spot. One person took both of our spots.
Which, by the way, I just got to, because Mimi touched on it, that led to literally my favorite pay-per-view event of all time, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where a certain guest of ours, Chaz, had the esteem of being the opening match on that card.
Yeah, that was pretty cool because, a lot of people don't realize, some of the most important matches are the opening matches. You're setting the tone for the pay-per-view.
Oh yeah.
The opening match, main event, or the bookend. So they, send us out there to, hopefully get the crowd fired up. Only thing, that's a shame about that match is Dustin's back was so torn up. He he was dealing with back issues, and they sent us to the finish room with Bruce, to go over the match. He's like, "I'll give you guys what I can." So I tried to work around, his back issues, and it didn't help that he had to give me a curtain call, but
Right.
but Dustin was so cool with allowing me to do his gimmick with him.
Yeah, that's right, because you didn't get to work as the Blue Meanie. You got to work as Blue Dust on that
Blue
pay-per-view.
Yeah, and that was born out of an idea. I had done Blue Dust in ECW, and went to WWE, and I joined the Job Squad, and they I started seeing the writing on the wall that the Job Squad was about to be dispersed. It's like, well, what am I going to do? So I came up with that. They had a show where Goldust came out and kidnapped Al Snow's head. So I went, well, Goldust is just stole the leader of Job Squad's head. I went to Vince Russo. I was like, hey, I got an idea for this whole Goldust stealing the head thing. I was Blue Dust in ECW. What if I bring back Blue Dust? Goldust is the person who plays mind games. What if I bring back Blue Dust to play mind games with the guy who plays mind games to steal Al Snow's head back? And he's just, I'm pitching it, and he's listening. He's chewing his gum. He's like, "Yeah, bro, give me a second." And he comes back. He's like, "Yep, we're going to do it." I was like, "Do you want me to get gear made?" He's like, "Nah, I just wore what you wore in ECW." I was like, "Are you sure about that?" Because what I wore in ECW was just Looney Tunes pajamas, spray painted with Krylon, Like, yeah, just wear what you wore in ECW. I was like, "That's what you want." But yeah, Dustin's the best, man. The fact that he's still doing it is amazing.
Yeah, and he looks great. And the best part is he's one of the. There's a lot of guys who still haven't figured it out. Like one of the things Simon and I talk about on her all the time is like post wrestling. Like I like to talk. Meaning we've spoken about it before. Post wrestling, like people have lives post wrestling in their career, and the guys that do better. And then because a lot of people want to focus on the negative and the drama, and the guys that have fallen apart and this, that, and the other thing. But to me, it's about the guys. Everyone, not everyone, but everyone's got an afterlife, and I'd like to focus on the positive side of it, which we've spoken about a lot. Yeah, and Dustin, I mean, he's in incredible shape. He's still going. He's still doing it. It's crazy how I mean, he may be as good now or better than he was before, at least in shape wise.
Yeah, it's like I always say, I wish I could put my 52-year-old mind in my 20-year-old body. And but the cool thing about Dustin is he's figured it out, and he's still going, and talk about the generations of wrestlers that worked with him from, I think he started in the late 80s. I remember watching him as a kid on Florida Championship Wrestling. They used to come on when we had UHF channels back in the day. And then all the way through the 90s, 2000s. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to be with him in WWE, and he taught me a lot, as far, because once I got to WWE, it was hard to learn the WWE way. I was so used to doing, I was so green when I got into ECW. I was only a year and a half in the business when I joined ECW.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was learning on the job, and I always tell younger wrestlers, it doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, the next job you're starting over. You could be the coolest kid in grade school, but once you graduate 8th grade, you're a freshman in high school. And then you go on to be the cool, senior on the football team or whatever. You graduate, now you're a freshman in college. You go to college, big man on campus, whatever. You graduate college. Well, now you're an intern at a job, fetching coffees. So that's what going from ECW to WWE taught me. It's just like, it doesn't matter what you did in ECW. We did great. I did cool stuff in ECW, with BWO and all this stuff. But when I went to WWE, they're like, I had to prove myself again, and Dustin helped show me the way to work that WWE style. That I it was like you're just paddling, trying not to drown.
Right.
He threw me a life preserver.
Meanie, what was the biggest hurdle for you in that transition and learning the style of WWE coming from where you came from and as an ECW original?
Yeah, ECW, I mean, we did TV, and used to doing TV, used to doing promos. We didn't really do much live TV. So you're jumping into doing live TV. There's time cues, and man, like ECW, they go, here's your time, go out and do it. And then doesn't matter how long you go, they can fix it in post. WWE, I've been in gorilla position where, like, you know, they gave me 10 minutes. Well, now you got 7. Okay. And you get to the ring, the ref comes up and goes, now you got 5. Or, you know, when you showed that Bryan match, we get to the ring and they added time. So we're like,
that really happens.
Yeah, it happens. And that was the biggest thing. Like, you know, I trained with Al Snow, and, you know, he taught me, you know, how to pace the time, but live TV is a different beast. It just is. And I've got more blown up from nerves of knowing I'm on live TV than anything else, you know. But you know, when ECW did, my first time on live TV was when ECW invaded Raw, and just, you know, hitting the time cues, hitting the spots, you know, trying not to go over and eat into somebody else's time. I'm just like, oh my God. And I just blew up from nerves, and I'm just ringside. So, you know, that was the biggest hurdle, is just learning time, you know, live TV, time cues, and, you know, try not to go over. And because when you go over, you know, over your time, you're screwing somebody else.
Oh yeah.
And not only you're screwing someone else, you're screwing the top guys, because it's those guys whose time gets lost.
Yeah.
Unless you're that match. So when with the time cues, when Glenn and I went back in 2016, we had the match with the Usos, and we saw where the match was, and we went, we're the cut match, because we were right before, it was SmackDown. We were right before the main event, which is always the cut match. Where they're like, all right, you got 7 minutes, and then as the night goes on, the show starts, like, all right, like you said, you're down to 6, you're down to 5, you're down to 4. So we were standing at Gorilla waiting to go out, and Vince goes, you guys got 2 minutes. And we were like, oh, shit. He goes, this was during the commercial break. He goes, so you have a choice. He goes, we can just cut you all together. He goes, but I feel bad because you guys are here. And he looked at Glenn and I. He goes, or you guys do your entrance now, and then we'll just have them come down in. You guys get a second of heat on, and boom, go into the finish. We're like, we're here. We want to do the match. We want to be on TV. So, yeah. So that's what we did. We did our whole entrance during the commercial. As soon as they went live, the Usos came out. They slid right into the ring, a little bit of heat, boom, go home, and match was over. I mean, it was that fast. But at that point, for us in 2016, we didn't be at a cut match. We told everyone we were going to be there. Like, you know, even if it's a minute, you want that minute.
Yeah, if it's none at all or a little bit.
Yes, I'll take the little bit.
I don't realize what a minute on WWE TV does for somebody's career. You know, you could be on WWE TV for 30 seconds and you walk through an airport, but hey, you know,
yeah.
I went to a Phillies game once, and they put me on the Jumbotron. You know, they're doing bongo cam, where you had to pretend to play bongos, and me being a ham, I wrestled it up. You know, I'm doing the thing, and like they cut away, and then I act surprised when they come back to me, and the next day everybody's like, "Oh, you're the guy from the bongo cam." I was like, forget everything I did in professional wrestling. Now I'm Bongo Man. Yes. Same thing with the WWF. If you're on WWF TV or WWE TV for a second, it could change your whole trajectory. I would gladly take 2 minutes over no minutes.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Phillies game. Tyler and I went, this was years ago. Sean had gotten us seats. And I say Sean because Simon Bryan knows who Sean is. And every time a left-handed batter was up, we were right behind the Phillies dugout. So every time I started getting texts and messages, you know, I don't live up there anymore, but I get messages from people up there like, are you at the Phillies game? And I'm like, yeah, why? They're like, every time there's a left-handed batter up, we can see you on TV. They're like, is that Tyler next to you? And I'm like, yes. And then I saw the camera coming out of the dugout. So every time the left-handed batter came up and I'd see I'd see the light going, I'd grab Ty and like punching him in the head. And then he would lay there like this. And then other times he would sit there, he'd start choking me. But yeah, that was it. Like everyone's like, oh my God, you were hysterical at the Phillies game. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's like all the stuff we've done.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I forget. I think they're playing. I forget who they're playing, but I'm sitting there. I start noticing the camera. I see the red light, and I would just be like, you know, the camera shot, like, The first time I kind of knew wrestling was for me is I went to WrestleMania 4 as a kid, and if you remember the WrestleMania 4 double VHS, the fold out and Hogan and Andre came out, I'm on the first tape because they had a fan fest. So my grandfather snuck me into the fan fest because he worked at Trump Plaza, and I'm standing next to Ricky Steamboat trying to get an autograph, and I feel a light hit me because they put the light on the camera. I felt the light hit me. If you watch the tape, you see me do this thing. I leaned into the shot. There's like, I'm gonna make on camera here, and lo and behold, they put that on the tape. So
you were great with stuff like that. You have so much stuff you share on social media of like events you've been at, autograph stuff, or you're just standing behind someone and literally you're like,
yeah,
with this blank look on your face. And this is when you were a kid. It's not like when you were actually there. This is when you were younger and you were a fan just going to the events. I find that so funny. I think it's great.
I was photobombing before photobombing was a thing.
Yes, 100%.
At Atlantic City, they had the WBF show. I was like, oh, well, I'm obviously not a bodybuilder, but I know wrestlers are going to be there. So I went to the convention. I met Mean Gene, and Ultimate Warrior was there, and he wasn't posing. So I said to some guy, can you hold my camera? I'm going to walk around to the back and snap a Ultimate Warrior signing. He's wearing a pink hat for the band Poison.
Right.
Yeah, it's Poison, Flesh and Blood, So I walk around. You see me just, leaning on the thing going. And it was like the funniest. It's like, well, if he's not going to pose, I'll pose with him. And I walked around the back of his table and just, did the Brady punch.
We need to put together a Where's Waldo book, but Where's Meanie book.
Oh, yeah. There'd be a lot of those.
I was so fortunate enough, living in Atlantic City, you get to do a lot of cool stuff, because there's always something going on, whether it's wrestling or a Tyson fight, and you go down and see who's out and mark out for him,
Exactly. So being from that area, I've always had this question. How did you end up at Al's school? Being from that area with all the schools there? Because the only way I got in or would have gotten in was I probably, to me, everything was kind of meant to be for my career, but I don't know how I would have started if it wasn't for the Monster Factor being 10 minutes from my house. So how did you end up in Lima, Ohio?
Man, I went to high school, and at the time I had just been a product of the Apter mags. But when I went to high school, I met this kid named Justin, and he was into the newsletters. So I started getting the newsletters, and like these different schools, you see different things for schools, so-and-so's having a tryout, this, that, and the other thing. And I actually did have a tryout at the Monster Factory.
Okay.
And Glenn put me through my tryout. It was the day after WrestleMania 8, the one that was in Indianapolis. Meltzer put, Monster Factory's having tryouts. I went and tried out. There's 12 guys there. And now, maybe the 12 guys, me and 3 other guys got called in the office with Larry, and Dennis Corluzzo was there. And, me and my grandfather went in, and he gave me the rundown, how much it cost and I guarantee you one match and, this, that, and the other thing. And I put that in my back pocket because I thought I wanted to finish high school. In the meantime, I had seen a match, the Malenko brothers against the British Bulldogs from All Japan. And I was like, these Malenko guys are fucking great. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
I should have asked first.
No, listen, you're fine. I've had Glenn on here. You're fine.
So I see in Melter's thing, the Malenkos have a school. I'm like, oh. So I sent a letter of, interest, and a woman started writing back named Phyllis Lee. And Phyllis Lee was like, she wrestled back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, whatever. She was helping Larry Malenko, the great Malenko, run the school. And we started corresponding, and I was about to go to the Malenko school in Tampa, I was working in the casino after high school. I worked in the casino. I took half my paycheck, half went to the house for bills, food, whatever. The other half went to tuition. I'm saving up for wrestling school. So I sent my money, and she's like, "Well, tell me, cost of living down there." And she said how much it was to, rent like a one room efficiency in Tampa. I was like, "Ooh, that's a little stiff." It's like 600 a month for just a room. I'm like,
Right.
This is in
I was
'93.
gonna say, especially back then. Yes, back then.
93. I'm just, ooh, that's a little stiff. So she comes back to me. She's like, "Ever hear of Al Snow?" I was like, "Well, yeah," because Al was starting to get this. Al had this feud with Sabu that was picking up steam, and I was seeing his name in the results, and I was like, yeah, I know Al. Well, I've heard of him. It's like, well, he has a school in Ohio, same tuition, and you live in the school. It's $150 a month. Okay, so she sent Al my tuition, and then the day after WrestleMania 10, I pack up everything I own into my car because I figure I'm moving. This is me
Right.
going to college. Everybody's going to real college. I'm going to wrestling college.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll get there in 6 hours. 13 hours later, I show up. I go up the elevator shaft. It was like we were on the 5th and 6th floor of this old Masonic temple, and his school looked like where they used to have Raw at the
Manhattan Center.
Yes.
Yes.
It looked like a miniature of that. It was
Yes.
the coolest thing. And I go in, I go, "Hi, I'm looking for Al Snow." And Al Snow goes, "Hi, I'm Al. I'm leaving." And he was leaving to go pick up padding for the ring from Dan Severn up in Michigan. I wish I had the presence of mind, be like, "Hey, can I come with you?"
Right.
I wish, but like I sat there with his students, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should pack my car back up and go back." They weren't all bad, but they're very interesting. But then the next day, Al comes in that night. He comes back and sits me down, tells me what he expects from me, and hey, sit in and watch what we do. But here's what I expect. I tell you the truth. I expect the truth from you. I don't lie, because when you have to lie, you have to cover up that lie with another lie. And he's like, "This is awesome." So next morning, bright and early, got up, took my first couple bumps, and almost packed up my car and headed back.
Went back home anyway. Was because I remember going up there. I don't know if Glenn. I think we had started doing the headbanger gimmick, so it had to be 95-ish. Al brought us up. Yeah, it was, because we met Al in Smoky Mountain, and then Al brought us up to the school. Because when you said it looks like the Manhattan Center, I remember, because when we went in, that one floor had all these bunk beds like circled all the way around. When you went there in 93-ish, was D'Lo there yet? Because I know D'Lo, or I don't know if D'Lo went there after Smoky Mountain.
Here's an awesome story about me and D'Lo. I met D'Lo the week I was leaving to go to Al's gym. I had a bunch of friends who did backyard wrestling, and Larry Sharp would rent them the ring for $10 a person.
Yes, that's where I met D'Lo, because I was at the school. I was still at Larry's school when he would come down, and that's how D'Lo ended up helping Glenn and I with the powerbomb leg drop, because he was there all the time.
Doing backyard?
Yes. So what they did was, as I just cut Brian off with his story. Sorry. No, D'Lo had his group of friends like Reckless Youth, and a couple other friends. They would come and rent the ring from Larry on Saturday afternoons. They had lights, they had cameras, they had ring music, they had outfits. They put on an entire show. Glenn and I would sit there, that little stage meeting next to Larry's office. Glenn and I would sit there on the stage and watch. And then Larry convinced, he tried getting D'Lo to sign up for the school. And D'Lo was like, "Why am I going to sign up for the school?" He goes, I've already kind of trained myself. And then they worked something out where Larry was like, "Listen, you need details. Details will get you to that next level." And that's how he convinced him to. They worked something out, but yeah, that's how they went. But yeah, it was crazy. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and then time goes by, and I head back to I met D'Lo there, and then a week later I'm going to Al's. I graduate from Al's. Al's like, "You've been here." I lived there for a year.
Right.
And Al would do morning sessions and night sessions because people would come from everywhere. People would come down from Canada, over from Pennsylvania, Indiana, up from Kentucky. So he accommodated people with. I was doing 2-a-days.
Yeah, because he had that. His location was great to be right in the central, right in the center. Yes, of the state.
And I would do the morning sessions, go off for the day, do whatever I had to do, come back, do the night session. 3 or 4 hours each. So I was doing 2-a-days, 5 days a week. And if Al had a booking, we I call it the class trip. I would go with Al to his booking, and I cherish those car rides, man.
That's awesome.
Going on the car rides with Al to bookings was just as important as anything I did in the ring, because I would go to it, like say if Al's doing a show in Michigan, I go and do, hang out and watch him do the show. He would incorporate something he taught me during the week into his match that night.
Really?
So we would be driving back. He'd be like, "Did you notice anything?" I was like, "Yeah, that thing, this, that, and the other thing." He's like, "Now you see it in the proper context," and he would do that for me.
Right.
And and the cool thing is, it's like I reading the newsletter. Oh, I know wrestling, and then like I realized how little I knew.
Right.
Talking, I say something now, and he would just laugh at me. It's just, you idiot. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm an idiot. But no,
Al's amazing. I mean, as far as teaching and like you said, doing that's amazing. Like we would drive with and kind of same but different, but we would drive like with Smoky Mountain. We would drive with Buddy Landell. We'd get Tommy Rich in the car. We'd get our good friend Tracy Smothers in the car. And on the way to the show, was all education. They would teach us stuff. They talk about it. On the way home from the show, it was what not to do. Like, so it was education either way. But we just did the, I don't know if you stayed for the match or not when we did this past year, Squared Circle Expo. Brian, did you stay for the show or did you and Tracy leave?
We took a powder.
Okay, so we worked Al and Cal for the tag belts. We were first match. We were first match, and Al was like, "We're gonna blow everyone away with this match," and I'm like, "We're not blowing anybody away with this match. This match is gonna be borderline a half a star." He goes, "No." He goes, "Here's what we're gonna do." So here's exactly what we did. We went in. They did their entrance. Al went out. They did their entrance, and of course the crowd's chanting for Head. So you got to wait 3 minutes for Al to run back into the locker room to grab the Head, to bring Head out. As soon as he gets in the middle of the ring with Head, blast him from behind, knock him out. A minute of steam on Cal. Then we shoot him in, and we did the old Rock and Roll Express, where he ducks clothesline. Al grabs Glenn's foot, pulls him out. I lean down. Cal rolls me up for a small package. 1, 2, 3, match over. That was the entire match. The only problem with the match, the ref did not count 3.
Oh my God.
2. And I sat there and I'm still down, and Cal went to get up off me, and I grabbed Cal and I squeezed him. I looked at the ref. I go, "Count fucking 3, you asshole." So he counts 2. So I really got pinned by like a 5 or 6 count. But yeah, that's what we did. It was like, but it's Al. So, and I was like, people. He goes, "People are going to get mad. They're going to get mad." He goes, "Who cares?" He goes, "No one's going to expect this finish." And if the ref would have counted 3 the first time, the place would have popped because it was so out of nowhere. And literally, it was 2 minutes. It was great.
Right. And that's the thing. I feel bad for younger guys. They need to realize all the stuff you call back in the back doesn't need to happen in the ring.
You don't need to do 18 spots. You don't need to be flipping and flying all over the place. You do simple little. It's the storytelling that we talk about it all the time. It's the storytelling of a match. Tell a story. All this stuff all over the place means nothing because the people aren't buying it. It's not registering. We told a good little story where out of nowhere.
Yeah, you got
storytelling.
Quality over quantity.
Yes.
Wrestling fans need 2 to 3 seconds to digest the thing they just saw. So if you're clubbing them over the head, it's like, one good punch is better than three shitty ones, It just, there's plenty of times where, I could have gone home early and it would have been just as good, and a lot of people think, oh, we called it in the back. I've heard how many times we've been in a locker room, we come guy in the ring, go, oh, I forgot to do such and such. I messed up. No, you didn't mess up. Just the fans don't come to this show because they know what's going to happen. They're coming to the show because they don't know and they don't want to know what's going to happen.
Right.
They want to be entertained. It's not like they hand out a playbill and go, well, in the third act, they're going to do the Tennessee Titty.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
and if you forgot to do it, there's a reason you forgot to do it. It means it wasn't meant. It wasn't needed.
Yeah.
You didn't need it. That's why you forgot to do it. It wasn't necessary. And one of the things Simon and I talk about all the time drives me batty, the slapping of the leg.
Oh,
yeah.
So, and I say to people, why are you doing it? They're like, I'm like, first of all, you're doing 18 super kicks in a match now, and you're slapping your leg every time. The answer is, well, Shawn Michaels slaps his leg. Shawn Michaels slaps his leg one time.
Right.
And you can barely tell.
One slap, and it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, it means something when he does it.
Yeah. There's ways to hide the slap without directly going, okay, guys, here I am slapping my leg. Just
here it comes.
Yeah.
Up here.
One of the biggest hurdles now is a bunch of the young guys, especially Frankie's students, is they botch something and immediately go right back into the spot. Like the fans won't tell. They like Meanie said, they're not in the back with you knowing what you called, what you didn't call. But if you mess something and you glaringly go immediately right into it, then you just gave up. You just peeled the curtain back. Like, unless it's a spot that's imperative to the storytelling of your finish, just move on.
And if like you said, if it's imperative for the storytelling and it's on TV and it's being taped and you can edit it and cut it out, fine. If not, just move on. Amber, landscapers outside. Like Glenn and I, our match on Saturday, the finish was supposed to be simple. We worked these two kids, and when I say kids, they were younger than Tyler. That's
my God.
And the one kid was maybe 110 pounds. But we give him the double flapjack, and we throw him up to the roof. We had to wait like this for him to come back down. So he hits. The ref was supposed to grab Glenn and put Glenn out. I'm covering the kid. His partner was supposed to come in and glom me and then do the old hit, but roll over at the same time and then slide out. Well, the ref decided not to put Glenn out and stood there and starts counting 1, 2. So I kick out, or no, the kid kick. I pull him up. I'm like, all right, kick out. So I said to the ref, I go, you need to go with Glenn. So he's like, oh, okay. So I picked the kid up for a suplex, and I go, schoolboy me. He comes down, he's schoolboy. Again, he starts counting. And I'm like, oh my God, you're missing. just listen. But yeah, it was what it was. But because then the other guy came in and tried to do the rollover, and we literally were rolling back and forth like this as the ref was counting 3. So I was just like, and then I don't know if any shoulders were down as he counted 3 because we were rolling back and forth. And I looked at the ref, and the ref, he counts to 3, and then he looks up. I'm like, yeah, just they won. We didn't win. Just let them win. It's just so stupid.
They've been there. I've seen Al, somebody mess up a 3 count. Al just reach in and give him a shoot mandible claw, count to 3.
Oh, Squared Circle Expo. The ref slid out after he counted 5. Al calls him back in and took the head, and literally you heard the head hit him in the head. He clocked him with the head, and he leans down on him, and he told him, he goes, that's what you get for not counting 3.
Right. I mean,
see, this conversation is so glaring. I love how so many people ignore the referee. A good referee should be invisible until the finish, but a bad referee can shit the bed entirely.
Well, a lot of the referees, they don't understand they're part of the show. You're part of, not only show, you're part of the match. You're an integral part of the match. And when you mess up that bad, it messes everything else up. And a lot of these kids nowadays don't know how to stop and go, okay, so something like Simon, you said, they messed up a spot. They have to go, oh my God, we have to do it again, because that's what comes next after that. Well, but they don't know what to do next if something gets messed up. The refs want to be, instead of just being part of it, they want to be the match.
Yeah.
They want to come in, if you're getting heat on someone and, you're choking more, they want to come and start touching you and grabbing you and pulling you off. I'm like, I got a 5 count. Don't touch me.
Yeah.
Get the 4. I'm going to stop. this is how it works. They want to be too much.
Not only that, it seems like the days of referees being able to call spots to help guys out are so like have gone the way of the dodo. You know, like now that I'm transitioning more from wrestling to managing, which I know makes you happy, Chaz.
Sure.
Unless like I get knocked off the ring by a bunch of buffoons. Like managers calling spots, referees calling spots, like that used to be such a commonplace thing, and now
Well, I mean, we've talked about it before. First time we went to Nashville for USWA, you're in different locker rooms.
Yeah.
Heels are in one,
oh
baby faces are in the other. And I'll never forget, we went to the ring and we were wrestling as the Spiders, and that's when I was still greener than ever, and I really didn't know anything. That was our first night, and so I've told you a story of where I was lost and blind because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then this was Saturday night in Nashville. And I got in the ring, and Eddie Gilbert comes walking across the ring. He's like, "Hey, hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert. Nice to meet you." And I was like, like didn't know what to say to him. And yeah, and then you've heard the story with who was it told us the story? I don't remember about being in there with PG-13. And they were like, "Hey, we're going to sit here," and they told him they like walked whoever. I can't remember that. Walked him through I think it was Pete Gas. Walked him through the entire match because Pete was like, "I had no idea what I'm doing." And they were like, "Yeah," they're like, "We're going to call it all in here." And they're like, "Hey, we got a green guy that's never called a match before." And so yeah, so the ref is integral because Memphis then the ref would go back and forth and give the finishes, but there were no spots shared. So you had to tell the ref, "Hey, go over and tell him this. Hey, I'm going to do this now." And the ref was the one walking back and forth in the ring, helping to call spots.
I got to do a show like that once, and that was for Bobby Blaze down in Kentucky. He was running a spot show, and I went down there, and I'm in the heel locker room. My opponent's in the babyface locker room, running back and forth, and I'm wrestling a guy named Buddha. I'm like, all right. I was like, how big is he? He's like, he's pretty big, and I had no idea. So I was like, you're trying to do cool things, and you know, whatever. I was like, look, I'll go to the ring, I'll do my entrance, I'll be in the corner, have him slide in, stand behind me in the corner, turn around, and I'll just sell, and we'll do the match that way. So I walk in, I do the thing. I don't even watch him do his entrance. I do the have my back to him, turn around. This guy made me look like Sky Low. I was like, oh my God. But, and that was a learning thing. Like, what do I do? Because I was always back then. I was the biggest guy in the ring. Now
Right.
I'm the smallest guy in the ring, and it's like learn on the fly and just cheat. Try and figure out a way cheat without the ref seeing you,
Right.
which people don't do anymore. They don't know how to hide it, or they just blatantly cheat in front of the ref. And like you said, the refs are important too because I used to wrestle every Thursday in Indianapolis, Indiana for a guy named Mike Samples, when I was still at Al's. And I learned, that was my learning school of like how to utilize a ref, send a message to, tell the ref something. He tells the manager something. The manager tells his opponent something, feed in for this. And when it's done right, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's seamless.
Yes, it is. 100%. Yeah, it really the refs are an important part. They're part of the show, but they're not supposed to be that main attraction of the match like some of them want to be or think they are. But
dude, in ECW, wrestling at the arena, going to me and Nova do our entrance. John Finnegan comes over, pretends he's checking my knee pads, and he goes, "See my foot?" And I look down, and he shows me where there's a dead spot in the boards. He's like, "Stay away from this."
right.
He had
That's
been
awesome.
there during the show, and he's telling me we're not to bump.
We're not the bump.
Yeah, just little things like that,
Yeah.
Referees can do to make the match so much better or protect the boys.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
But it seems now like refs are so disconcerted with that aspect of it, and you see more and more refs with merch tables or t-shirts.
So,
and
it's funny. It's funny you say that because I just flipped over to Instagram where we're live. So whoever, where's it at? Here it is. He goes. So Kenny Casanova, whoever the hell that is, goes, you know what's the worst? When the ref is posted on the event card like he's a draw.
Yeah.
That's the guy with the merch table. That's the ref with the merch table.
Kenny's a good dude. Kenny's a good dude.
He's got a great personality.
Yeah. You see the guy in the card on the poster like
Yeah,
this.
I was just about to do
Or this.
Right. I'm holding up my.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes, dear.
I have this. I'm so over this. The crowd now wants to. We're talking about refs having to get themselves over. The crowd now wants to be part of the show, which is great.
Right.
The "This is awesome" chant. I'm so over that because literally they lock up, they hit, like if someone hit an arm drag, they're gonna, because they've never seen it before, they're gonna yell, "This is awesome." A match will have "This is a this is awesome" chant 3 or 4 times in it. I'm like, do they really know what's awesome anymore, or are they just chanting just to chant?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I know Ring of Honor first came around, and like every show they're chanting match of the year at like certain matches. Like, well, if the last show was match of the year, how can this be match of the year? You know, just I'm from the school of no reaction is the worst reaction. So if they're making some kind of noise, that's a good thing. But I when you're sitting at home, and I can I feel that. I'm and maybe ECW was partially to blame for the chants. You effed up, crack or because me and Mrs. Meanie have been watching some old ECW, and some of the chants I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of stiff."
Oh yeah.
But, it's more PG now, but this is awesome. This is awesome. I get it. I get it.
What about that "This is wrestling" chant? It's all wrestling. What do you thought?
Actually, I thought this was Parcheesi. I'm changing the channel, but yeah.
ECW was big for the starting with the chants, and ECW was also big for starting with the signs. Monday Night Raw didn't get crazy with the signs until ECW. ECW was, Glenn and I went to ECW one time as the Spiders.
Oh, really?
And then, yeah, we worked Axel and Ian. This was after we left USWA. So it had to be July, August, maybe September of 94. We went and did one match with them, and then I got that cyst on my tailbone and wasn't able to go back. And then from there, I think we went back to Arkansas. But yeah, they were so innovative which not even just with what Paulie did with the wrestlers, what you guys did in the ring, but even the crowd changed it because, again, you mentioned the chants, the signs. Like Monday Night Raw would have never had the signs it had if it wasn't for ECW.
I have a unique perspective because before I wrestled for ECW, I was a fan in the crowd. And if you watch some of those early shows like 93, 94, you can spot me. You know, I went to Al's school.
That's why, hold on, Simon. That's why him and Tracy are watching the old matches because Brian's cutting himself out in the crowd, so you can put it on his Brian book.
Yeah, I'm putting myself over. Hey, hon.
Yeah, there's an ECW
elbow pad. That's me.
Yeah, there's a ECW Sabu title match, and there's me in the background.
Yeah. That's it. Sabu versus Cactus Jack. Sabu does this thing, for his entrance. I'm literally next to his elbow pad like this. But I went to Al's, and then like I would pick one weekend a month to come back home because when I went. I was wondering. I was like, what was it? I would pick a weekend a month back because my grandfather had gotten sick. So I'd come back, check in on my grandfather. And I always pick a ECW show on the way out of town. Like I would stop, watch ECW, and then drive back out to Lima. And I was, in some of the, you saw me in the crowd for some of that stuff. But when I debuted for ECW, it was so symbolic because I was the fan in the crowd. And then when they chose to have me be the fan in the crowd for Stevie to bring me over the guardrail, it was like somebody, it was like, I've been a fan of the Phillies all your life. You go to a game, they're like, hey, you want to bat third? Sure. Right. And I get them over and, take a couple swings, and I always say if I told you my life story, you'd be like, that's too corny, that's too Disney, that's
No
like,
way.
whatever. But being the fan of ECW when it first started, going to the shows, moved away for a year, and that's probably why I didn't catch the Spiders there, because I was at the wrestling school. But
Right.
then come back, we moved. We were living in Atlantic City. We moved from Atlantic City back to South Philly after my grandfather passed, and I'm living 10 minutes from the arena. I start working for ECW. It was like, I believe certain things happen for certain things happen for a reason.
For a reason.
Working at
100%.
casinos, I had sent my money in for wrestling school. Phyllis Lee, who I've been corresponding with, called me out. She threw down my punk card. She's like, "So when you coming out?" It's like, all right. So I'm walking to work one night. Me and my mom worked at two different casinos, but we're going to catch the shuttle bus. And I'm standing there at the corner. I go, "I'm going in tonight and giving my 2 weeks notice." And she's like, "Okay, I guess if you want." And I went in, gave my 2 weeks notice, told my family, I'm doing it. 2 weeks later, day after WrestleMania 10, and drove. But like, just something, there's certain points along the way where something divine tells you this is the time to do this.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it happened to work out. If I feel bad for people breaking into the business now, because it's so much harder now. I mean, it was hard back then without social media, and you'd have to send out VHS tapes and resumes and all this stuff.
And you had to hope it actually got there. Like, especially if you were, using mail. We were fortunate where Glenn already had a relationship with Lawler and Cornette from when they would come up and do stuff for Larry. But like when we were in not USWA, Ozark Mountain with Bert, and Tracy and Ricky and Robert would come over, like we had to give them a tape and hope they gave it to Cornette, even though we knew Cornette kind of knew who we were. You kind of had to hope it got there. The other thing I think the kids are missing out nowadays are the drives on the road. Like you said, how much you learned from Al, what we learned from Brad Armstrong and Tracy Smothers and Buddy Landell and then Tommy Rich even. I mean, you're driving with guys like that on the road with years and years. And we had Henry on a couple weeks ago, Godwin. He was talking about how he rode with Harley Race when he first started.
Yeah,
I mean, mind blowing. You're on the road with Harley Race to start like your career. Like that's a lost thing now. And then a lot of them, because I go up to the performance center and those kids are amazing. They're so athletic. They're so great, but they're not real fans. So they don't know the whole behind putting a story together, which is part of what I love doing up there, especially when I'm with Carino and I'm working with them. We're like, it's got to make sense. Like, the storytelling, with fit and everything. Those guys are amazing because they're learning, and the students up there, the kids want to learn, and they're sponges. But yeah, they're missing out on that side of it, the road life, because like you said, when you went to Al's, that was college. When I went to Memphis for USWA, that was my college, because I didn't go away to college either. That was being on the road was college for me. 100%. Same thing.
See, that's why this is such a thrill for me. I backdoored my way into the business. I was a scare actor at Horror Nights, and I found a loose security shirt and put it on and started showing up to TNA for a year and a half, and then took my first bumps lying, saying I knew how to bump, getting dropped on my head, and finally I got pulled aside and said, "Hey, that's not smart, but you got balls." And I was the very first student of the Team 3D Academy. But I learned all that stuff just showing up, saying, "Yeah, I know, I know what I'm doing." But it was.
And he learned how to get punched in the face from Bubba.
And Bubba broke my nose the second day of training.
What's the Ricky Morton joke where he's like, I went in there and said, "Brother, when we get in the ring, haul off and just punch me in the face." They go, "Why?" He goes, "Your worker punches are killing me." But look, I love what they're doing to the Performance Center. But yeah, it's just in a lot of ways. Yeah. And the good thing is they're recruiting people who might not be wrestlers. And you have to, and then in a way that's kind of good because there's no mistakes. They're fresh clay.
Yeah. There's no bad habits to break.
Right. Like to relate it to football, me and you are Eagles fans. And, when they signed Jordan Mailata from rugby, Jeff Stoutland was like, they're like, were you worried? He's like, no, he's fresh clay. I get mold. He doesn't have all the bad habits.
Right.
You go to the performance center, you got guys who haven't wrestled yet, so they don't have those bad habits.
Nope.
The downside is
they don't have the passion.
Use the term, but you're it's a difference between being a house cat and an outdoor cat. Me and you are outdoor cats. Because we've been out in the world, we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
We've learned what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, we have a lot of callous on us, from a lot of things, driving from, dude, I was driving from Atlantic City to Lima to go train, and my alternator dies in Lima and Columbus, Ohio. I'm like, what do? You got, pull over, you got flat tire. What do you do? You show up to the building. One of the first shows I went with Al, they're having this big show and we're all outside and the ring truck doesn't show up because it was in an accident. What do? Just all these different situations of, you and I have done been through so many different things that, like, if something happens, we usually have an antidote for it, to help fix the situation, where some of the kids coming up now be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go back to TikTok, and that's the thing, Bradshaw says this a lot, back in our day, we didn't have social media. So we had to actually sit around and talk about the business and feed ideas off each other, and
we'd sit there and we'd get in the locker room, get the scoop sheets to find out what was going on around in the territories and stuff like that. You'd get them, Friday, and you had to be access to near a fax machine. I mean, kids don't know what a fax machine is now. But yeah, no, you had to. It was, and actually, I'm really glad back in those days, we didn't have these and social media, because the shit Glenn and I would have posted on YouTube would have been ridiculous. Probably would have got us arrested. But
I was going to say you would have been canceled.
Oh, well, if they're going to cancel me, they have to renew me first. But stuff we did in ECW was, I always say ECW was one part movie, Slapshot, Major League, and then Rocky Horror Picture Show. We were the misfits that just happened to be at the right place, right time. And then, the fans were like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they knew the chants, they knew the character, they knew who you are before you even set foot in the ring, because they were reading newsletters, they were tape traders. And there was something magical back then about being a tape trader and learning something new that you might not find. I find musicians say this all the time. It's like, yeah, I could download an MP3, or I could go to a record store and discover something on my own. Finding that stuff out in the wild, or learning stuff out in the wild, was so magical. And you get to that point in your career where a light bulb goes over your head and go, aha, that's what Al meant, and just wrestling could be the easiest thing. It's just the point of finding out that moment when, it becomes, you learn to work, I'm just on my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Listen, I get it. I've had those moments. And one of the things I do enjoy when I go up to the performance center is helping the kids with little details. And you see them just going through the motion, but they don't understand it. But once they understand it, and you see their light bulb go off, and they're like, oh, wow. And it just changes it. So when you see it, I love that part of it. Because
I say we watch WWE LFG, and I'm sitting there with Tracy. I'm just like thinking of ideas for the different people on the show, like Elijah Holyfield. I was like, man, he needs to do some Rick Steiner stuff, bro. I can see Rick Steiner in that kid. I love him. Besides the fact that he played for the Eagles too. So yeah.
It's funny you say that, because for me growing up, I've built relationships with some of the kids up there, and the same thing. Like, I'll see something on LFG and I'll send them a message, or I'll get a message from like Josh Briggs or Luca Cristofino. Hey, did you see the match? Like, what did you think? And I go back and we'll text back. BJ Ray and I text probably almost every week about something. And and it's like, and even him, he'll be like, hey, and I love it, because then I'll watch the product, And then I see them do it, and I'm like, oh, they're actually listening, and they're trying it, and I see it. Yeah, I love it. It's funny because there's, I think LFG last night was what, like episode 5 or 6. So
Yeah,
I think
I'm behind one episode, but doesn't matter.
yeah, I didn't see last night's, but there's a couple coming up when I'm there,
Nice.
and I was working with them, and it was funny. I don't know if this will get on or not, but I won't say who the match was. But I was producing a match, and I got the match, and whoever was in the match comes over to me and says, "Hey, so we kind of changed this one part of the match," and he was hesitant on telling me, and I'm like, "Okay," I'm like, "Well, like, why did you change it, or like, what made you think like?" I don't give them. I say to them when I'm producing matches up there, go figure it out. Come back, get me, and then from there we'll go over details. We'll figure it out. What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? Why did you do this? Why did you choose that? I don't want to sit there and go do this. It's their
Right.
match. They know themselves better than me. Go
Right.
figure it out. So I said to him, "Well, what made you want to change it?" He goes, "Undertaker," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" I go, "Let's go talk to the Undertaker." So we walk over, and I go, "Mark," I go, "Why are you changing the match?" He goes, "Well, I changed the part that was shitty." And I go, "Oh, fair enough." Like, but it was just funny. And the funny part is, and I said this to Simon, is I've gone up there while they're doing LFG, and then going up there to coach. I've spoken to Taker and Sean more on the 3 visits I've done up there than I did in all the years in the locker room with them, because it was just, just they were up here and I was way down here, and I was just this little shy kid who still kind of hid in the back. But watching that and the LFG stuff, and then watching them transition over to Evolve and then on to the actual NXT, I think it's amazing. I love it because I feel, I don't know. I talked to D'Lo about this a couple months ago. It's like, and he summed it up perfectly. He's like, it's like it's taking the training wheels off your kid's bike and then watching them ride off.
That's
That's
awesome.
exactly how it feels to me.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's amazing.
So
Yeah.
next time you text BJ Ray, you know who he reminds me of, and I just tell him to go watch some of this guy's stuff. He reminds me of Jamie Dundee.
Really?
Like, well, Jamie can do good work, and BJ's still finding his way, but
Right.
nobody could out-talk Jamie Dundee. And I feel like no one can out-talk BJ Ray,
Okay.
If you could pick up some of those little details from Jamie, I saw Jamie Dundee come into the ECW arena and like a sniper just pick people out in the crowd and just tear them apart, to the fact that he was supposed to be the heel, but like he ended up getting a huge baby face pop.
Getting the pop for it, right?
He picked a guy in the crowd, goes, "Hey, yo, Adrian," and the crowd's like looking at the guy, and the guy's just like, "Oh," Ray seems like that guy who you're not going to out-talk him,
No. Yeah.
And in some senses, he gets the heat from that. Like, he's one of my favorite kids on there. But yeah, like you said, that's a perfect analogy. Taking off the training wheels and watching them figure out, oh, okay, here's my balance,
right,
and go off. I take great pride in watching some of the kids I've helped out along the way go out there and do good stuff. And not only when they do stuff, but when they're asked about stuff, when they talk about, they say things out in public that you've taught them, and you're just like, they listened.
They listened.
That's the best feeling when you hear them say. I always tell I always tell them, if you think you're going too fast, if you think you're going too slow, go even slower. Just stuff like that. And I heard one of my kids say that to somebody else, and I was just like, he listens. Yeah. So that's the coolest thing. It's easy to get brushed off. This old guy, what's he know? But when they listen, it's the best feeling.
I don't know if you can, but I can tell almost immediately talking to someone in the locker room if they're going to listen or if I'm wasting my time. Right. So like Saturday, they had an intergender match, real skinny little kid and then a petite girl, and the girl was like barely touching him, and I'm like, you got to lay it in. You're in there against a guy. Like, she goes, well, I'm afraid to hurt somebody. I go, you're a petite little 105-pound girl. The guy you're wrestling is maybe 120 pounds himself. Like, you're not going to hurt him. You got to lay it in a little. And then they had this big battle royal at the end. And they got in there and she starts lighting people up. But she started like conversing with me, like asking me questions about this, and right there, and I was like, all right, she's going to listen and she's going to try it. It's the guy that stands there and goes, I know, I know, and I go, okay, yep, good chat, got to go, goodbye.
Yeah.
Not wasting my time with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're talking to somebody and they're you're halfway through your sentence and they just cut you off to say something else, something totally different. You're like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to go fuck myself now.
Yeah, I'm going to pat him on the back and go, have a good day, good chat.
Yeah. Those people who ask the questions, I got all day for.
Yeah, 100%.
I hate when they ask, will you watch this? And then you watch it. And I was taught the fans will tell us what we did right and our contemporaries will tell us what we did wrong. But the big problem nowadays is so many guys have their own little circle jerk group of buddies patting them on the back that if, next February will be 20 years that I've been around and doing stuff. And if you say anything to the contrary, then you're just a hater, or they have every yes, but, or, oh, what I was trying to do was, oh, okay, so you already know. Why bother asking? You have all the answers. You know why you did the stuff you did wrong. You know what you did wrong. Leave me. I'll go sit in my corner, watch Food Network on my phone, and don't bother me again.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, dude. I was, as much as I wish I kind of went to the Monster Factory, I'm kind of grateful that like I went off to find Al, because I think if I had stayed in the general area, went through start training at home, and I think I would have had people either build me up like that. I'm glad I went out and trained with a bunch of strangers who knew me from nothing. And I, learned from, like I said, go to college, meet new people, learn new things. Living in Lima was like total culture shock. But I'm glad I didn't stay home, because there's a good chance I probably would have quit, or I would have found people who tell me, oh yeah, you're the greatest thing. And that probably would have ruined me as well. Whereas I went off with a bunch of strangers who didn't know me, didn't care who I was, and were brutally honest with me.
Yeah, I mean, it made you grow, and and like Glenn, was around 2 or 3 years before I even started, and he says it all the time. He goes, I would have never left home. He goes, he had offers to go to USWA before from Lawler, but he was like, I wasn't going to go by myself. Like, I wouldn't have went by myself. So like you going by yourself, I mean, that's huge, because I don't think I could have done that, or I would have done that, because I just didn't. I was very naive and mature for being when I started. I was what, 21 ish, 22 ish. So I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to do what you did if it wasn't for Glenn. Like, Glenn and I were meant to meet. We were meant to be together. That was whole thing was meant to happen for us to get to where we got to. But for you doing it on your own and leaving and packing up and going to Lima, Ohio, it's huge. That's mad respect.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that was my first time away from the family. It's from everybody, and the real gut punch is I was there for like a month, and my grandma calls and tells me, my grandfather, who was eventually, my grandfather was my dad. My real dad, took off before I was even born. So my grandfather, who wasn't even a blood relative, raised me like I was his kid. And she calls to tell me he's, got cancer and it's not looking good. But his only words to me were, don't come home, because he knew this is what I wanted to do. He's like, don't come home.
Right.
So I made a bargain. I would go home 1 week in a month to see him and go back. But, one of the greatest things I got to do was send him, like one of my early matches. I went to go have my first match. People don't believe this, but my first match ever was in Canada. And a fellow student was having a show. I had my match in Canada, and I was supposed to, do the job. But Al knew my situation at home with my grandfather, and he let me go over in my first match ever, just so I could send that tape home to my grandfather to let him know that I didn't leave him in his situation for nothing. That and that's another reason why Al, I'll defend Al to my dying day. Like, he knew I was this kid away from home. I'd be living at the school, and on Easter, his family would bring me over an Easter basket, or if there's another holiday, they would bring me over a meal. 4th of July, I would go to the park with him and his family and watch fireworks. I became part of that family with Al.
Right.
And, that, just another chapter in my life that, like, I feel bad for kids who, break into business who don't get experience, that kind of thing, just, but it took me leaving home I had to leave home, or there's a good chance my grandma was seeing the bruises for me hitting the ropes and going, oh, why don't you do something else? And it put that doubt in my head. But, Al was my big brother, and he got me through probably one of the toughest years of my life, dealing with my grandfather passing. So, but, that year I spent in Lima, Ohio, I wouldn't change it for the end of the world, for anything. Like if I'm driving to Chicago for something or Indianapolis, I'll go an hour and a half out of my way to go to Lima just to look at the building, and just stand there and stare at it. And, there's a really cool burger place in there called Kewpie. I go there, have a Kewpie burger, stand outside the building and just think about all the time I spent in that small little town. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. It's with Al, it's a true brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like I have at the Al stories, we have that one person, but I'm so happy that happened for you. Like that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because I've heard those nightmare stories where people, send in their money, they drive and they go to show up for first day of training and the building is empty.
Oh,
you know, and I'm driving 13 hours to a thing. I don't know if it's a real thing.
Right.
I left a good job working at the casino where, I was, making decent money for, that time era, put money away for they had a retirement thing. I was like, I gave all that up just that was my winning lottery ticket, was going to
try and live a dream. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
To try and live a dream. That's awesome. Brian.
Yes.
It's been over an hour. It's been amazing. I appreciate you. I love you more than you know. I can't wait to come up to Philly and go to McCusker's and have a beer with you.
Oh, please.
Because I haven't been there yet. All the times I still haven't been there with you. So
it's 10 minutes from the ballpark.
Yeah. So I am going. Actually, I'm coming up. Tyler and I are coming up to my brother's. We'll be down the shore at his place. I think it's the first week of actually the Phillies game. We were going to go to the Phillies game on Sunday, August 3rd. Okay. Because I'm flying in out of Philly, but I was going to go to the game on the 3rd and then fly out Sunday night. They changed that game to a night game. So I'm like, shit. So I got to figure out a game. Now we're going to go Friday or Saturday, but we'll go to a game. I'll let you know which game I'm at.
Dude, as soon as the game's over, shoot 10 minutes over to McCusker's. We'll have a couple post-game beers,
We'll have a couple pints and then head home.
Yeah, dude, it's the perfect bar. It's just, there's no knuckleheads there. It's a family-run place, and I've been going there for 20. I'm stumbling distance from 2 bars, but I go a mile to McCusker's just because there's good people there. So
it's home. That's your place. I get it.
Yeah. I'm their norm.
Well, I just wanted to throw my last 2 cents in because I had to temper my, we came on, you were showing your Super Bowl belt. I can't even state how buzzed I was for this when Chaz told me you were coming on. Chaz knows I'm a huge mark. I've been a fan of yours. God, I had your poster on my wall, Brian, when I was 1,000%. And I've been very fortunate. The guys that have mentored me in the business refer to me as the bastard child of VCW, because before I even started training the devil, Father Mitchell, I'm closer to him than I am to my biological father. Him and Pat Kennedy took me under their wing, which is how I got the name Simon. And then, training with the Dudleys. When I broke into the business, New Jack and Steve Carino looked out for me more than anybody ever should have. So I've heard Meanie stories for the last 20 years, and this is the first time we get to talk. So thank you for giving us your time and being so generous with your stories and everything, Brian. Thank you.
We'll have to do this again. We got plenty more stories. I got plenty more New Jack stories and all that stuff. So he's another guy who looked out for me. But thank you so much for the kind words. That when you asked me to come on, it was a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm already in your chat watching along. Right. So I love listening. I love to listen to the war stories.
Right.
And we can write a bunch of them. But thank you for having me on. This has been a pleasure. This was a breeze.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Give Tracy lots of love for me. She's probably sitting right behind you or around you. I'm surprised she hasn't popped her head in. No, you. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Love you.